Okay, dear colleagues, first of all, thanks a lot for joining this short presentation of our data challenge. My name is Alex Kotsev. I'm together in the office with my colleague Marco Minghini. We work for the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. We will be presenting today to you together with colleagues Antje and Eline from the European Data Portal. I hope that you can see the slides, the screen. What we're going to do today is walk you through our data-related challenge, which is entitled Let's Make the Most Out of Inspire. We are going to talk about our idea, about possible data to be used in addressing the challenge, as well as what would we like to see inside. Stay tuned please till the end of the presentation, because we have very nice awards planned for the challenge, the teams who decide to address the challenge, so please stay tuned with us. This presentation will be recorded, so it can be revisited on a later stage. Okay, diving into the details, what is the challenge all about? Our idea is to investigate through this challenge the topic of improving the usability of the Inspire infrastructure. As you know, the Inspire infrastructure, the level of ambition there is very high. And there is a lot of environmental geospatial data that is already made available. There is a growing number of data sets that are exposed through services. Lots of interesting things can be built from those data, for example, a cross-border or cross-domain use case. But there are also some limitations, possibly some inefficiencies that relate to an extent to the way in which data providers have implemented Inspire. So we would like to look into that topic. We envisage the following approach. As a first step, we think that teams should be able to identify and describe a particular concrete use case for which one or more Inspire datasets are needed. We will elaborate in a little while on what those use cases might be. Then as a second step, teams should look for data that is relevant to the use case. And the starting point for this, from our perspective, provided it's an Inspire challenge, is the Inspire European Geoportal. We're also going to see in a little while a very, very brief demonstration. Step 3, after having searched for appropriate data, we think that, and if there is some particular issue or inefficiency that is being discovered for utilization, for building, for addressing the use case, then the idea is to target this inefficiency in step 4 through some sort of a mock-up solution. We're going to elaborate on that as well. Which solution can either create a layer on top of existing services or datasets, or develops some solution from scratch. In step 5, we foresee that the lessons learned are following, giving overview of how the issue is being addressed, are very, very briefly documented in a lightweight mode. And the final step, after having gone through the whole process, is for selected teams to present the results at the Inspire Helsinki workshop in October 2019. What might those example use cases look like? For example, there might be a need to address to create a cross-border or pan-European data set for a particular purpose, or perform spatial analysis in GIS software, or create a value-added service or application by combining multiple data sources with Inspire. So, for example, combining data from the European data portal that will be presented in a little while with Inspire data. So we are pretty flexible on those use cases. The reason why they are there is to just position all the other work within a context, within a particular context. So we want to keep things real, and we want the teams to participate, to really think of a particular use case where they will be targeting the inefficiencies in the infrastructure. Then in terms of issues that might be addressed, those might relate to the way in which Inspire data is being served, or they might relate to the lack of client support. For example, for being able to flawlessly and easily visualize or query or process the particular data set. Or there might be also issues in client applications with loading and managing big volumes of data. Think of big volumes of data from sensors, or big volumes of orthophotography, for example, as possible issues. The expected outcome for us is some sort of a working prototype that illustrates how the delivery and consumption of Inspire data might be streamlined or facilitated. So by working prototype, we want to really keep this work real. So we're not targeting production, absolutely fully implemented solution, but at least some functionality that is being developed would be very much appreciated. The lightweight document that was mentioned, just it would be very useful to give some hints on how the issue has been approached and what are the lessons learned out of that exercise. And then also a flash presentation that summarizes what was already mentioned, so the prototype and the process of about really short one, about 5 minutes, that can be presented at the Inspire Helsinki 2019 event. The evaluation criteria, you can see more information on that topic on the website of the challenges. The link is shown here. But what we as challenge organizers would like to see in particular is the use of some prominent emerging technologies. We're not limited into the technology that we would like to see, but for example, application programming interfaces, newly emerged standards like the Web Feature Service 3, or as it is now called, OGC API features, or the Sensor Things API, or GeoPackage would be very much welcome. And then with all the implications, so they might, all those solutions might be built on top of existing data, or built on top of existing already services. Also, we would be keen to see open source software being used, but also we encourage the teams that address the challenge to release the source code within a Git platform like GitHub, like Bitbucket of their choice. So we see this Git platform also as a means for communication with us. So all the issues, all the comments, all the code base would be very nice if it resides in such a platform. Also, we have some very nice recent developments within Inspire. In particular, I would like to mention here the work on alternative encoding. So we already have an alternative encoding for GeoJSON as an encoding for Inspire data. please feel free to use this or propose other alternative encodings in your work. That would be very, very much appreciated. And then in terms of input data, I will stop.
Okay, can you hear us now? Okay, great. If you cannot hear us, please write it in the chat to let us know. Okay, so we can go on. We were saying that you are totally free as a team to use the data source you prefer most, according, of course, to your specific use case or to the specific domain or problem you are addressing. And these could be both geospatial or non-geospatial data sources, official or crowdsourced data sources. Here, just some examples, but of course you are totally free to use other data sets, Geo's data core infrastructure, or the Copernicus data and information access services, or any other European agency as a source, European agency as a source of data sets. But you can also rely on crowdsourced data sources like OpenStreetMap, which is this worldwide geospatial database, absolutely open access for any purpose, or any other volunteer geographic information or citizen science project. So as mentioned before, we would like just to provide you a little demo of the Inspire Geoportal. That is, as we said, the mandatory data source that any team should use for the challenge. Okay. Some of you may be already familiar with the Inspire Geoportal, but just as a background information, we can say that the Geoportal is the single point of access to the whole set of information provided by member states in the scope of Inspire. It is organized, as you can see here, into two possible viewers, which differ in the way they filter, they organize the data sets published by the European member states. The first one is called Priority Datasets Viewer and is dedicated to priority datasets, which are datasets considered to be of priority for environmental reporting. And here you could search datasets according to the environmental domain they belong to, or according to the environmental legislation that they are relevant to. Just to take an example, if you select one directive, like the noise directive, you access a page like this. I would just come back just to show you the second viewer, which is called the thematic viewer. And basically this allows you to access similar pages, but where the data is now filtered according to the country, so to the member state that makes data sets available, or according to the data themes. You know that Inspire has 34 data themes. which are divided into 3 annexes, Annex 1 and 2, which mostly cover baseline information. And then we have Annex 3 with more detailed information pertaining to some specific domains like statistics, like land use, marine sciences, and so on. So whatever is the way you basically search for data sets, so either through environmental legislation, environmental domain, or data themes, at the end you can select just one, in this case one data theme, and you access the page, the same page we have seen before, where you have a map, a navigable map, and then you have some numbers here which tell you how many resources are available in this specific domain. In this case, in terms of the addresses, which is the theme I chose. In this case, we get a measure of the number of metadata records provided by all member states, the number of downloadable data sets, and the number of viewable data sets. You can see that the map changes as soon as I change the criterion here, according to highlighting the member states which provide at least one resource for metadata, viewable or downloadable data sets. In order to really access data sets, what you can do is to select a country, or just to select the whole Europe to have for all the countries together. Just to, I will just show you an example of one country. So for instance, you click on one country, in this example Spain, and I access the data set that Spain currently makes available under the addresses theme. I select the data sets I'm most interested in, for instance this one, and well, let me just come back to show you that if you want to look for downloadable or viewable data sets, you should take care of these icons. The first icon means that there is a metadata available. The I icon means that the view service is available. The download icon means that there is also a download service available. So if you want to also download a dataset to process it, for example, in a client, you should clearly look for this icon. So let's access, for example, this dataset. You get, first of all, under the tab dataset metadata, a summary of the metadata content, like the title, abstract, lineage, very important, the conditions applying to access and use, that basically tells you what is the license of the data. In this specific example is CC BY SA, any other limitation on public access, and then responsible party. You can also access the full XML of the metadata if you wish to. And then you switch to the view option, where you can get a preview of the data set. In this case, we should have a WMS service available. Okay, and you can see that actually this is a WMS service. If you want to access the endpoint of the service, for instance, to use this specific service in your client, you can access it by clicking on the service metadata. So I'll show it again by clicking here, this icon, and you get the endpoint of the service. You get, again, the full metadata of the service if you want to get all the available information. And finally, if you want to download the dataset, you open the download option, and you have here again the service metadata options. Let's just click one. This is a WFS service. So again, here you have the service endpoint that you can use, for example, in your client also. And then here you have a button that allows you to directly download the dataset. So let's just a sample of the dataset. In this case, it's a GML dataset, so you can basically download it and then open it in your client. So according to the specific use case or application, you may need a specific data format, a specific Inspire data theme, whatever. But this is the way that you should actually use to download datasets, to search and download datasets from the Inspire Geoportal. If there are any questions on the Geoportal, we would, of course, be happy to answer, but let's do it maybe at the end of the webinar. So now we can have the second demo on the European Data Portal, and for that I would pass the microphone to our colleagues from the European Data Portal. Let's just give us please some seconds to make Antje the presenter and to let her share her screen. Okay, until we can see your screen, so the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marco. So about the European Data Portal, which is also a great source of metadata about interesting data in Europe. This is the start page. And if you were looking for a specific data set, you could, of course, enter some keywords here now. But I would like to focus on this option to browse data sets by categories. And I'll start with the catalogs that are being harvested. So the European Data Portal harvests metadata from national and regional open data portals and geoportals. It doesn't have any data itself. And you have the option. So currently there are 81 catalogs being harvested. And on the left here you have the option to filter by countries, and you can see by the countries some have more than one catalog, like for example Italy has 7, some have only one catalog, and others have, actually a lot of them have 2 catalogs. And this is due to, I'll just set the filter on Germany here, that quite often there's one open data portal being harvested and one geoportal being harvested, like the national geoportal. In some cases this isn't the case. For example, if the open data portal, the national one, already harvests the geoportal. This isn't the case in this case in Germany. There are 2 they're separate portals, and they're both being harvested. So and for, of course, this challenge, the Open Data Portal, the Gov Data Portal would be the more interesting portal for you, because, of course, the data from the national Geoportal is already being included in the Inspire Geoportal. So you don't really need to look to the European Data Portal for this. So let me just delete this filter again. Maybe look at another catalog. I'll just grab the first one here. It's a Spanish catalog with which is, and now all the data sets of this catalog that are being harvested are displayed here. And an interesting thing about the filters on the left-hand side, because now I can apply more filters to narrow down my search, is that the filters will only include information that, or filters that can actually be applied to this, to my search criteria that I already have. So for example, if I were to select the category science and technology, this will narrow down my my search in this case. All right, I'll go back to the front page here and talk about or show you what else you could use for browsing. So I just showed you the catalogs. And then we have these themes or categories. These are actually DCAT themes, 13 of them. And I could, for example, choose transport here. And again, I get this filter set, and I get all these metadata displayed. And while we're at it, seeing that the Inspire conference this year is in Helsinki, I could probably just change the language to Finnish, which and you can see the metadata is already is also being translated. This is because the metadata is also translated in the member states' languages. But let me switch back, because my Finnish isn't that great. And now let's have another look at the filters here. And I would like to show you the formats. So now I have all the formats that can be applied or to the search results I already have. And you can see there's quite a few formats that you will recognize as being geo formats, like shapes, KML, GML, that kind of thing, but also other formats, spreadsheets or text or whatever. And this might also have interesting information for you if you want to work with, for example, statistical data on demographics that you would have to connect to, for example, administrative units. But let us have a look at one format that you will probably be familiar with, GeoJSON. I just set the filter here. Now we have 321 data sets. And let's have a look at the first data set here. It's from Germany, some airports. And the thing is, that's different in open data portals, is you'll have different distributions, which are basically different formats. Like, for example, in this case, I have KML or Excel, and I can download these by clicking on download. This will then just download the KML file. Or for some formats, there are also different options like visualization. And for GeoJSON and WMS, there's the geo visualization, which is basically a display in the map viewer. I'll just start that. And this is meant as a preview, so not really. It's a very simple viewer. It's not to actually work with the data, but you could have a quick preview of what's being presented, and you don't need to download it and work with it. So this is a GeoJSON file of different airports, and also I can just display them, or if I zoom in a bit, I can, for example, click on one and then get the information on this. Okay, and this should be enough for a quick demo. We're quite curious on what data you might find interesting and what you will do with it. And hopefully we'll see you in Helsinki this fall.
Thank you, Antje. We are also quite curious to see what happens with all those very interesting data sets from both the Inspire Geoportal and the European Data Portal. And yes, we look forward to seeing all the participants, all the challenge teams in Helsinki. We can there all work on our Finnish language so that we can improve on that. Now let's talk a little bit about something very important. As was mentioned in the very beginning, we have nice awards prepared for the teams. So the first award is a free entry, accommodation and travel support for one team member to the Inspire Helsinki event. But this applies only for the first 10 teams which register and submit a solution to any of the challenges. So please, if you're interested in submitting, do so quickly, because we already have some submissions, so you should really be fast and efficient. Then another award is a free entry, accommodation and travel support for next year's Inspire conference in 2020. And the opportunity to present the work there. The next Inspire conference will be in Dubrovnik in May. And this award will be given for the challenge winning team. So it's for each challenge winning team will get one free entry. And we have 4 challenges in total. Then there is a trophy and some goodies that are offered by the European Data Portal. So there is a little bit of a surprise. We will not elaborate on that now. And then FME Safe Software. So FME offer free registration for the Safe Software's next International 2020 User Conference, which will take place in Vancouver. And then there is the Conterra FME Days, which is immediately after. Some software is also being offered, licenses for us. So software that are made available on the challenges website for all the challenges. A little bit of information about how to form your team. Marco will walk us through that.
Yeah, so ideally teams should be composed by at least 2 people and no more than 6 people. We are quite flexible on that, but it should be a team, so you should not work alone. Also because the expected amount of work is suitable for a team, not for a person. To sign up your team, just follow this link, or you can just visit the conference website and you will easily find this link. Very important, what should you do if you are interested to join the challenges, if you have a cool idea but you are alone? Don't worry, you are very much welcome to join the challenges as well. You can do 3 things, basically. First is to sign up your team as well, specifying that you are alone, of course, and that you are looking for team members. The conference organizers set up a specific text box where you can, where you actually suggested to indicate so. So if you are alone, please do that. And if you have an idea, you can already share it, perhaps. Second thing you can do is to join also this channel, this forum on the Spectrum chat. And this is basically a forum where other team members, where the conference organizers, and also where the challenge organizers are there. So you can basically find any kind of information or ask any kind of information about challenges, like I'm looking for a team. And you can also subscribe to the challenge mailing list at this link that again is available on the website. So you don't have to take note now, but just visit the website. It is up basically to you to say that you are alone, you're looking for team members, but the local organizing committee and also we as the challenge organizer, we try to, of course, take into account all the different needs, the different talents you may have, and try to team up people together. Then, timelines and deadlines, very important. So we suggest you, as Alex said, to sign up for your team as soon as possible, because the first 10 teams who sign up and who provide a solution, an acceptable solution, will get a free ticket for Helsinki. So sign up as soon as possible and no later than August 16. The deadline to submit your work is end of September. After the submissions, a jury will evaluate the submissions and also select the finalists. The jury will be composed by the challenge organizers, so in this case the JRC, the European Data Portal, but it will also be composed by external experts about, experts on technology, experts on specific software, so it will be a mixed evaluation team. And finally, clearly the best teams will be invited to give a presentation at the Inspire Helsinki event. So more than one team will be invited at the conference, and during the conference you will be asked to give a presentation, both a pitch, so a very short presentation on the first day, and a more comprehensive presentation on the second day, where you will have to interact with the jury and with the experts, and where this will be the moment where actually the winning team will be selected. You may find all the details at the link below, which provides general information about all the challenges. So that's it. We would like to thank you very much for your interest and for attending the webinar. Just some information. So here you have all our email addresses. Feel free to contact us. We also suggest you to register to the Spectrum channel. That is, again, this forum for communication made available by the conference organizers. And also very important, this the recording of this webinar will be made available very soon at the same challenge page on the website. That's it. We are open for questions, so feel free to either use the chat or to just turn on your microphone and ask any kind of question.
Hi there, Marco. I have a question regarding you said that there was an award of free accommodation and travel support for the first 10 teams that register. So is that meaning registering your team or submitting your actual application with your solution?
Well, it means both. So the award is for the first teams that register and that at the end, of course, submit something. This is done because we need to know, if possible, in advance who are the teams that might be awarded with a free entry for the Helsinki conference. So a team is expected to register, but at the end, before the deadline, also to submit a valuable application. Yes, of course, we may forgot to say that, but it was written, the free ticket and travel and accommodation support is for one person of a team.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Also, where will these slides be available? I understand that the recording will be available. Are the slides available somewhere?
We will make available the recording on the website of the challenges. So I think this we will do as there are the other challenges also did present their work. So we want to do the same, and yeah, in a little while all the content will be available. But if you're looking in particular about the links to the different sections that we mentioned, if you go to the Inspire Helsinki 2019 website, then you will get all the content there. Also, if interested, as was mentioned, take advantage of the tools. We have the chat, you have our contact details, then we can send you relevant materials and so on.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So if there are no other questions,
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, this is Sanya. I have a question. So you presented first what is the data or the use cases the teams should look up, and then you had the selection criteria. But I think there is a kind of mismatch. If you are going to try to set up a pan-European data set or a multi-country data set, and then you are selecting the use case by who is developing some kind of API or software or code. So how does this fit together?
Yeah, indeed, a good question. Thanks, Anya. Yes, so what we are targeting is really more the way in which the provider is making the data available. But yeah, indeed, we don't want to do it only isolated from the usage of the data. So these use cases are only there to put things in context, and a challenge might be to actually implement some sort of an API. It doesn't necessarily have to be for one provider. It might be for two providers that are in a cross-border situation, and that would facilitate the creation of such a data set. So don't see those, these are just examples. As mentioned, we're pretty flexible on the examples. What we want to see is really addressing the inefficiencies or improving the infrastructure with a particular use case in mind.
Any other? Yes.
I have one more question. You mentioned providing any open source code on some sort of Git platform. There isn't a requirement for the end solution to be an open source solution. Is that true?
There is no requirement to make the solution open source. I'm just checking also the conference website to be sure about that. But this is just a suggestion we have. So of course it would be appreciated just for the benefit of the community if the solution is also made available as open source. But there is no requirement, you are right. Yes, if you, well, I can just copy paste the page in the chat. So if you look at this page that you can see now in the chat, at the very bottom of the page, it says the challenge teams are encouraged but not required to license their code and create datasets using an open source, open access license. So regarding code, you are totally free to decide. Regarding the license of the dataset that you might achieve in your challenge, of course, it is very important that when you choose pick up the datasets from the different sources, you verify what are the conditions for accessing and using these licenses. And you are sure that what you derive as, for instance, third, as derivative products can be actually released or can be used under a specific condition. So this is up, of course, to the teams to verify it. But there are no requirements on our side.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So you said one of the keys is to use the Inspire Geoportal or the European Data Portal. What does it mean to use? Is there an API for this, or does it mean maybe the European Catalog Service or something like this?
No, not our idea is to use it as a discovery tool, and then yeah, you can see the different endpoints by browsing the interface, and then you can feel free. It's just the idea is to start from there, so to keep it relevant, to use the discovery functionalities, and then from there, of course, you can discover all the APIs, all the service endpoints, and so on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other question?
So it doesn't seem that there are other questions, so we would like to once again thank you for being with us today. We look forward to receiving your submissions for addressing our challenges, and to meeting you all in Helsinki and discussing all the interesting things that might happen from now until October. Wishing you also a very nice summer, and if there is anything that you would like to chat with us, to discuss, please feel free to do that. We really want to keep this as agile and as flexible as possible, so please get in touch with us. Thanks a lot.